This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9.
NT5TM test concluded.
Ham Fixin's Nets, first and third Monday, 7 p.m., W5FC.
I'll be starting Skynet in about 4 minutes. If you need to use the repeater, please do so before the top of the hour. This is N5BB.
W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet. This is N5BB, November 5, Bravo, Bravo, and I am starting Skynet. I'm the net control for this issue of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, your comments, and your suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the # break in your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. Stations are reminded to identify at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates at 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using a W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Some people may also check in via other means, which is fine. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. You can now check in the net electronically by going to the club's website, w5fc.org. Look for tonight's announcement and click on the hot link to check in. We'll acknowledge you on the air, and don't worry if you want to check in via voice or Echolink, where we'll continue to do that. All amateur operators are welcome. You do not need to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net this is N5BB, and this is Skynet. The net's 90 minutes long, structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, National Space Society, recent astronomical discoveries, the discussion topic of the evening by the net control, What's Up by Chaz, what can you see if you look up outside at night? Space exploration and space history, the Constellation of the Week, space launches of the week, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, and questions and answers. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So currently, here's who I see checked in via the W5FC website form. I recognize Tom, KU5ICX in Corpus Christi, Cody, K5MCD in Dallas, Bill, W5BLT in Garland, myself, N5BB, Bill in Irving, Tony, NT5TM in Dallas, but around his place it's Bird City, Brian, K9AHO over in Terrell, Travis, KI5PGM in McKinney, Robert, A5AH in Richardson, Dale, N5LIG in Little Elm, Chaz with Bob the Cat, KF5JHA. Glad you made it, Chaz, in Texas. I guess Garland, but never know. Mesquite, but you never know with Chaz. And Brenda, WB5OZL in Dallas. Okay, that's what we have checked in so far. Now let's go to the next level of check-ins. How about short-time check-ins? Is there anybody that can't stay very long? If so, please check in now with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is N5BB. This is Skynet, looking for short-time check-ins.
Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike, Thomas in Euless, no traffic.
Kilo India 5, Whiskey Tango, Joe in Lancaster.
Yeah, Rex KF5JCM, Thomas, and KF5WWT in Lancaster. WWT, would you spell your name phonetically? I'm not sure if I heard it right.
Name is Joe, Juliet, Oscar, Echo.
Very good, Joe. We got you. I completely misheard that. So thank you very much. Here was on my end. Okay, do we have anybody else that needs to check in as a short-time station? If you can't stay very long, please come down. Okay, weak signal. All we heard was carrier. Please try again. Nothing heard. Do any of the short-time check-ins have any questions or comments before they leave? Okay, nothing heard. Now let's go into general RF check-ins. Do you like to check in on RF to the repeater? Please do so now. Give us your call sign, your name, and your location. In other words, your city. This is N5DB, Skynet, looking for RF check-ins.
Kilo, Golf 5, Uniform, Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob in Farmers Branch.
This is Kilo India 5, Zulu, Oscar, Echo, Tommy from Palm Springs.
Kilo Charlie 5, Charlie Alpha Kilo, Tom in East Dallas, Lakewood.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima in North Carrollton, James.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sarah Steele, Sean in Fort Worth.
Okay, let's pause there. I recognize KG5UFR, Jacob, KF5ZOE, Tommy, and Tom. KC5, I'm sorry, bungled your call sign. Tom, give me your call sign again and your location.
This is Tom, Kilo Charlie 5, Charlie Alpha Kilo in East Dallas.
We got you, Tom. I heard you check into TechNet, but unfortunately I didn't write your call down. KC5CAK, Tom in East Dallas. Thank you, Tom. And we have in V5F, Virginia in Fort Worth. KF5ZBL, Bill in Farmers Branch. KG5WVL, James in Carrollton. W5GUS, Gus in far, far northeast Dallas. And KB9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. Do we have any other RF check-ins? Echolink's coming a little later here, but do we have any other RF check-ins to Skynet? If so, please come now.
Kilo Juliet 5, Juliet Alpha Kilo, Nick in McKinney.
Very good. We have KJ5JAK, Nick and McKinney. Did I get that correct, Nick?
Yes, that is correct.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, let me roll over. We'll have time for other check-ins later. Let me roll over to Echolink here. Let's see. I believe the only additional station is Billy, KF5PDS. You want to check in on audio, Billy?
Sure. Good evening, Bill. This is KF5PDS, Billy and Sherman on Echolink.
Very good, Billy. You sound good on Echolink. Okay. The other stations on Echolink have already checked in on the web form, I believe. Let's see. Yes. I think I've got everybody there, except, well, somebody checked, was there and left. BU2GH, Kim, would you like to check in on audio? If so, please tell us where you're located. Well, I think that's a link station, so there might not be a really human there. Okay. I also want to recognize Clay, N5OF, in Mesquite. He checked in on the web form. Thank you very much, Clay, N5 Oscar Fox. Okay, does anybody else want to check in any mode? Please come now. This is Skynet, N5BB Net Control, looking for additional check-ins. Okay, next we have announcements. Does anybody have any general announcements? This could be involving amateur radio, astronomy, space, or something else of general interest to licensed hands. If so, please come now with your call sign only.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Looks like you've got it, Tony, NT5TM. This is N5BB and Skynet. Please go ahead with your announcements.
Thank you very much, Bill. I've got a bunch of announcements tonight, actually. First off, this is fun, but it's not the end. Our last net of the night is the Afterglow Movie. meeting at 10:30, 10:35-ish, somewhere in there. We'll focus on the movie Our Man in L.A. from 2024. It's on Tubi TV if you want to try to watch a little of it between now and then. Looking forward to tomorrow, there's a busy day of amateur radio coming up. The White Rock Lake Amateur Radio Club will be having their monthly brunch tomorrow at 11 a.m. at VFW Post 6796. It's on Garland Road next to the Sonic here on the east side of White Rock Lake. This is actually a VFW event, not an amateur radio one, so everyone is welcome, radio operator or not. It's to help raise money for the VFW. The food and the labor are donated. The White Rock Lake Amateur Radio Club will be having their every other week Fox Hunt tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. More details are at wa5wrl.org. Then in the evening, after you're stuffed full by brunch and tired from fox hunting, you could go to the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air from your own air-conditioned home. That's tomorrow on 146.88 at 7 p.m., and you can share what's been going on in your ham world. Then we'll have a Racy's training net at 8 p.m. Only Racy's appointees can check in, but everyone is welcome to listen. This Monday is the second Monday. I know, it feels strange. First Sunday immediately followed by second Monday. And that means the MCOM 101 net will be at 7 p.m. on this repeater. All hams interested in public service are welcome. And last but not least, I was reminded earlier tonight that the Route 66 special event is now in progress. Some people prefer the 13 colonies, but for a lot of people, this is their favorite special operating activity of the year. Check out Whiskey6JulietBravoTango.org, W6JBT.org for more information. Thank you for listening. Have a great evening. NT5TM.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Yes, there's a big list of special event stations in different cities along Route 66, the historic Route 66. They have special event call signs starting with W6A, going through W6Y. And W6Y is an aeronautical mobile. I believe they're going to be flying between Oklahoma City and Amarillo sometime. So you can find all that information on the website. The Aeronautical Mobile Station is running FM on 146.49 simplex with no PL. But the other stations will be operating as they want to on the CW sideband and digital modes on pretty much all the amateur bands from 80 to 6. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, or news items relating to amateur radio? This is N5BD. Nothing heard. This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. AMSAT, the Radio Amateur Satellite Group, has multiple nets available. Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m., there's a national AMSAT net on the Echolink. Under groups, look for asterisk, AMSAT asterisk, or go to www.amsatnet.com for more details. Here in the DFW area, we have 2 nets we encourage check-ins to for relating to satellites. The AMSAT Net East meets on Tuesdays except when there is a club meeting. So we've already had the club meeting. So they'll be meeting this coming Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater. So 8 p.m. at this repeater this coming Tuesday, you can get on and ask questions or make comments about anything related to amateur satellites. All are welcome to check in. The next day, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington 147.140 megahertz repeater with a PL10 of 110.9 positive offset. There's the west version of the Dallas MSAT net, the DFW MSAT net, for people that are especially to the south and west. The DARC has a lot of nets on Monday evenings. So check the website. You can figure out what's happening on Monday evenings. On the second week of the month, we have MCOM 101, Emergency Communications. So that's what should be coming up, I believe. Then we have every evening at 6 p.m., every evening at 6:30 p.m. on this repeater, we have the National Traffic System Training Net. These are people that are moving messages, radiograms, via amateur radio. If you check in, you need to be willing to handle a radiogram message. If you haven't done it before, no problem. It's easy to learn. So this is every evening at 6:30 p.m., except for the club meeting night where we skip it there. Then at 9:30 p.m. every evening, we have the late traffic net on the WA5CKF Irving repeater, which is at 146.72 megahertz with a PL10 of tone of 110.9. And again, that's at 9:30 p.m. Okay, those are the nets. Of course, on Saturday night is the night of nets. After we have the traffic net at 6:30. At 7 o'clock, we have TechNet, where we talk about technical things relating to amateur radio and other news. Then at 9 p.m., we have this net, Skynet. And Skynet continues for an hour and a half until 10:30. Around 10:30, we have the Afterglow net, where we talk about a movie. It may be a good movie, it may be a bad movie. This time, it is Our Man in L.A., a 2024 small art house film. Tom, would you like to describe for us Our Man in L.A. with your extremely accurate description, which I think must have come from some kind of ChatGPT thing, because it's obviously hallucinating. But go right ahead, Tom. KE5ICX. Tell us about Our Man in L.A.
Well, thank you, Bill. I'll do exactly that. The director put the cell phone to his ear and shouted, "Action!" It was a bit different from his earlier films, where he'd had actors write letters to the main character in longhand and then have that actor read it as though it was a voiceover, Ken Burns style. But with a budget of only $100, 50 of which went to Fort Lunch, the director was pressed for time and money. The dumbfounded actor on the other end of the line looked at his check and saw "Your name here" scrawled on the signature line and realized no one had written a check since 2010. Perhaps this thing would bounce all the way to the bank. The scene began, camera whirring away. "I would like to buy your alien device. You know, the one you were selling on eBay, but couldn't produce a picture since you only had a small budget of $100. The whole exchange seemed hollow, but knowing streaming services would pay anything for content, everyone passed on, hoping the audience wouldn't notice the bare-bones approach to movie making. Join us for Our Man L.A. tonight. Small art house film tonight at 10:30 p.m. Actually, it's not bad. It was filmed during COVID. That's why there are a lot of telephone calls in this thing. Back to you, Bill. KE5ICX.
Well, thank you, Tom. Spoiler alert, the big issue is delivering the object. Well, paying for it and delivering it is the problem. And it's not because it's coming from China. But delivery is a really big trouble. Really, really, really big. That's what's going on this evening about 10:30 p.m. Our men in L.A. If you go over and start right now, you could whiz through most of the movie and maybe skim parts of it. So it's on Tubi, Our Man in L.A. 2024. Okay. You can find out about all this kind of stuff involving the Dallas Amateur Radio Club, that sponsors this net, on the club website, W5FC.org. Let me check now. Nobody's checked in on Echolink since Bob the Cat. And nobody else has checked in on the web form. Do we have any other check-ins here on the repeater for this net before we move forward? This is N5BB, and this is Skynet.
Kilo India 5, Uniform Alpha Uniform, David, mobile in Dallas.
Very good, David. KI5UAU. Thank you for checking into our net. Do we have any other check-ins? Next, it's time for Bob the Cat to wake up Chaz. That's right, Bob. Go and lick Chaz on the nose or something that'll cause him to wake up. And Chaz is going to tell us about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Go ahead, Chaz, KF5JHA and 5BB, and this is Skynet.
Why would you think that Bob the Cat is awake? He sleeps 20 hours a day. Oh, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. On September the 26th is the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is going to be Matt Penn. The topic is going to be about citizen science about the solar eclipses that we had not too long ago. Now, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas hosts Saturday night public observing sessions in the Dallas area. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing session. On the first Saturday of the month, stargazing is held at Fairview. That's just south of McKinney. Do we have any ham radio operator at the stargazing that would like to make a report? Come now with your call sign, if there is. They're probably watching the stars, or maybe the moon. There are some double stars up there. There's even a few brighter deep sky objects that might be able to be seen even with a nearly full moon out there. Okay. You can check the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. This is KF5JHA, back to our night control.
Okay, Chaz. Hey, if I go outside, look up, and I say Beetlejuice, 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 will that cause a supernova?
It will cause trouble.
Yeah, I figured as such. Okay. By the way, waiting for a star to go supernova is really boring. It's exciting and boring at the same time. Okay, next we have the National Space Society events and activities. This is Bill, N5BB, and I happen to be the Vice President and the Membership Director of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. The National Space Society is a non-profit group based in the U.S. which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. Our local National Space Society chapter website is at ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. The last chapter meeting was on August the 10th. It was a virtual presentation by Dr. Rosalie Lopez of NASA JPL. She discussed the Cassini-Huygens space probe, which investigated Saturn's moon Titan. Our meetings are also available virtually. Contact Bill in 5BB if you'd like to attend. In fact, one ham did that a few days ago and says he'd like to attend our meeting, which is coming up on Sunday, September the 14th. So let me know, and I'll send you a meeting request so you can log in. This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. On the last Friday evening of each month, from 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. The location is Cheddar's Restaurant, 700 West Highway 635 in Irving. This is near the MacArthur and Highway 635 intersection in North Irving. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in any group is required. The last event was, I forgot to change the script. It was over a week ago. The next Space Rendezvous will be, next Space Rendezvous will be held on Friday evening, September 26th. It's always the last Friday evening of the month. The United States Mint open sales for rolls and bags containing the fourth and final American Innovation Texas $1 coin of 2025 in early August. The reverse or tail design of the coins honors the innovation of mission control at the Johnson Space Center in Texas. They are legal tender, but they're not released through normal circulation. You have to order them in the mail from the U.S. Mint. And I did that. So if you'd like one of these coins, please contact me in 5DB. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, by the way, these coins have an astronaut on one side in a spacesuit near the International Space Station. That's how they're honoring manned spacecraft flight in the Johnson Space Center. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, or you'd like to become a member, please contact Bill, November 5 Bravo Bravo, at his QRZ listed email address, or at space@byrom.net. That's SPACE at BYROM.net. End. Okay, now it's time for Brenda, WB5OZL. Tell us about recent astronomical discoveries, Brenda, like maybe molecular clouds. WB5OZL and 5BB.
Thank you. This is WB5OZL. Well, this is an article from Science Daily entitled "A Monster Molecular Cloud has been discovered in our galaxy. No one had any idea that it existed. A newly discovered midpoint cloud offers a rare glimpse into star formation and the dynamic flow of galactic material toward the Milky Way's center. An international team of astronomers has discovered a massive cloud of gas and dust located in a little-known region of our Milky Way galaxy. Giant molecular cloud, GMC, is about 10 parsecs, or 200 light-years long. In a new study published by the Astrophysical Journal, researchers using the USS National Science Foundation Green Bank telescope, NSF-GBT, have poured into a molecular cloud known as MBOR 7-0.8, nicknamed the midpoint cloud. Their observations revealed a dynamic region bustling with activity, including potential sites of new star formation. One of the big discoveries of the paper was GMC itself. No one had any idea this cloud existed until we looked at this region, at this location in the sky, and found the dense gas. Sorry, Kitty's trying to walk on my keyboard. Through measurements of the size, mass, and density, we confirmed this was a giant molecular cloud. Natalie Butterfield, NSF National Radio Astronomy Observatory, NSF NRAO scientist and lead author of this paper. These dust lanes are like hidden rivers of dust and gas that are carrying material into the center of our galaxy, explained Butterfield. The midpoint is a place where material from the galaxy's disk is transitioning into the more extreme environment of the galactic center and provides a unique opportunity to study the initial gas conditions before accumulating in the center of our galaxy. The NSF-GBT observations focused on molecules like ammonia, Na3, and cyanobutadiene, C5N, which are traces of as gas. Besides revealing the previously unknown midpoint cloud in the galaxy's inbound dust lane, the data also shows a new maser. Okay, you have to get down, baby. So sorry, Kitty stepped on a thing and lost my place. I guess it was time to reset anyway. A new maser. The team discovered a previously unknown maser, a natural source of intense microwave radiation associated with ammonia gas. This is often a sign of active star formation, potential star birth sites. The cloud contains compact clumps of gas and dust that appear to be on the verge of forming new stars. One of these clumps, dubbed Knot E, that's K-N-O-T-E, might be a FREGG, free-floating evaporating gas globule, a small dense cloud being eroded by radiation from nearby stars. Evidence of stellar feedback. The team found a shell-like structure within the cloud, possibly created by the energy released from dying stars, and turbulent gas. The gas within the cloud is highly turbulent, similar to what is seen in the galaxy's central regions. This turbulence could be caused by the inflow of material along the dust lanes or by collisions with other clouds. Star formation in galactic bars is a bit of a puzzle, said Larry Morgan, a scientist with the NSF Green Bank Observatory. The strong forces in these regions can actually suppress star formation. However, the leading edges of these bars, such as where the midpoint is located, can accumulate dense gas and trigger new star formation. The team's findings suggest that the midpoint cloud is a crucial link in the flow of material from the Milky Way's disk to its center. By studying this region, astronomers can learn more about the how galaxies build their central structures and form new stars in extreme environments. All right, back to net. This is WB5OZL.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Your signal, your connection there was erratic. We heard some beeping in there, but all your audio came through. It just had beeps on top of you. Okay. Do we have any additional check-ins to Skynet? If so, please come now. This is N5BB, Net Control.
This is Whiskey Bravo 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas Low Power.
Very good. I recognize Ted, WB4MFI. Do we have any other check-ins? Okay, now we come to the discussion topic of the evening by the Net Control, me. The topic is, did a smaller but still giant black hole recently merge with the black hole, the one at the center of our galaxy? By the way, the word recently means astronomically recently. This is like millions of years. So, the question is, did a smaller but still giant black hole come in and get attracted to, merge with the black hole, the center of our galaxy, making it larger? If so, this could explain the weird star cluster nearby. That's the reason for this interest. I originally saw this in the Bad Astronomy newsletter from Phil Plait, but he referenced another article, which I also saw, by Carrie Hensley. This was in the AAS Nova. This is the American Astronomical Society, has a little online newsletter. So, first, at the very center of our Milky Way galaxy, there's a supermassive black hole called Sagittarius A star. When you write it down, you abbreviate Sagittarius, SGR, and A star is A with an asterisk. So Sagittarius A star. That's what we call the supermassive black hole, the center of our galaxy, Milky Way galaxy. It has a mass of about 4 million times that of the Sun. It's fairly quiet. It's not eating a lot of material at the moment. This is Skynet, N5BB Net Control. Surrounding Sagittarius A star is a cluster of stars called the SGR A star cluster, or sometimes the S cluster. The S cluster. It's a cluster of stars surrounding the black hole. It's not clear how many stars are in it. We're looking through a lot of dust to see them, and the galactic center is 26,000 light years away. It's not all that close. But it's likely hundreds of stars within about 1/10 of a light year of the black hole, surrounded by an even bigger cluster of stars. The brightest stars are the ones we see the most easily, and they look young, perhaps only a few million years old. It's not clear how these new stars formed so close to the black hole. Perhaps they formed further out and migrated inwards. Are some other weird situations going on that allow stars to form in situ at that location? You know, when you have something near a black hole, you assume it's going to get sucked into it. You don't really assume you're going to have star formation. Weirdly, the orbits of the stars in this cluster are at all different orientations. If they formed from material around the black hole, a disk, it'd be more likely their orbits would be aligned. If they did form there, what could have scattered their orbits? Big mystery. Excuse me. A new paper just published provides a possible explanation. A smaller black hole could have merged with SGR A-star, Sagittarius A-star, messing up the orbits. The team ran computer simulations of what would happen if a second black hole stuck its nose into the galactic center. They wanted to see if the stellar orbits were affected, and if it could happen in the right time frame, like less than a few million years, since that's the age of these stars that are near the black hole. In the simulation, they assume that Sagittarius A-star is surrounded by a symmetric disk of material, either gas or stars, although most of it is further out than a tenth of a light year. So as the second black hole spirals inward toward the center of our galaxy, it eventually merges with the big black hole that was already there. When they merge, a blast of gravitational waves would be emitted. And this acts like a rocket, giving the merged black hole a kick that sends this new, larger black hole, created by the merger of the two, moving away at high speeds, some 10 kilometers per second in this case. The black hole doesn't fly away, though. That's still slow enough to keep it near the center, and as it interacts with stars around it, the black hole will quickly fall back to the gravitational center of the galaxy. This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. What they find is pretty cool. If a 200,000 solar mass black hole merges with Sagittarius A-star, it can stir up the material around the new black hole, giving it more eccentricity, like more of an elliptical shape, and tilt the orbits every which way. It also forces material to move closer into the black hole, which could explain not only the orbit's orientations, but how these stars got so close. Their models don't fit everything perfectly, but they show it's possible, a possible formation mechanism. And this does match the time frame for a proposed merger put forth by another team of astronomers to explain hypervelocity stars. These are stars moving at an incredibly high speed out of the galaxy. They could have been accelerated by this second black hole orbiting a Sagittarius A-star. So the galactic center is pretty chill. It's pretty calm right now, but not so long ago, it may have been a hub of activity. So now I'm going to read a few selected things from the other article I had here. So the center of our Milky Way harbors this supermassive black hole, Sagittarius A-star, with a mass of 4 million suns. The nearest neighbors of this behemoth are a compact disk of massive young stars and a collection of stars called the S-stars, which inhabit the innermost 48 light days of our galaxy. So we're talking something pretty close to the center, only within 40 light days of the black hole, the big black hole. The stars in the disk that's rotating a black hole are orderly, arranged on orbits with moderate eccentricities and low inclinations. But the S stars orbit Sagittarius A star every which way, careening around the black hole with a wide range of eccentricities and inclinations. So up to now, the cause of this is unknown. And they tried to explain this in various other ways, but they believe these stars are less than 15 million years old. And trying to figure out how they could get this way in only 15 million years, it wasn't easy. So that's when they came up with the other idea of this other black hole coming in and throwing a monkey wrench into the works. Let's see. The premise is not far-fetched. At the ripe old age of nearly 14 billion years, the Milky Way is likely gulped down neighboring dwarf galaxies in globular clusters multiple times. When a black hole embedded within one of these meals of stars and gas merge with the Milky Way's central black hole, the collision causes Sagittarius A star to recoil, potentially rearranging the stars in its vicinity in the process. Anyway, they ran a bunch of simulations, and sure enough, it looked like this was a really good possibility. So, that's all that I got. This is kind of exciting, and it looks like it would also explain some high-velocity stars that may have left due to this black hole merger. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this presentation, or do we have any additional check-ins? This is Skynet, N5BB, net control. Nothing heard and nothing seen on Echolink or the web form. Okay, now it's time for What's Up? Chaz, what happens if you go outside and look up? KF5JHA, this is N5BB. Take it away.
Well, last night and this morning was rain, clouds, yeah. Oh, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. Slide Master, slide number 2. We call this segment of Skynet What Is Up because it's all about what has gone on astronomically over the last couple of weeks and what will take place over the next couple of weeks and maybe a bit beyond. Slide Master, slide number 3. By the way, I'm talking about slides. There's a video version of Skynet. Just go to W5FC.org. Click on the link. There's a YouTube version of Skynet that's a video. Yep. So, slide 3. We've talked about the predicted nova, not supernova, but nova of star T Corona Borealis, which may erupt at any time. It is currently at a brightness around 10th magnitude, which is much too faint to be seen with just your 2 eyes. It was supposed to have gone nova more than a year ago by some predictions. New predictions are November the 10th of this year or June the 25th of next year. But when it goes nova, T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star, which is 2nd magnitude. I can see the North Star with just my 2 eyes from my very light-polluted location here in Mesquite. Slide Master, slide number 4. This image is from today, September the 6th, from spaceweather.com. The large sunspot complexes of the sun are so large at times that you can just use your solar eclipse glasses to see them. Yep. This week I've had a couple of them that are very close to that. I couldn't see them with my solar eclipse glasses, but maybe your eyes are better than mine. The sun is near its 11-year solar maximum. We're not quite sure when the solar maximum will occur until after it happens. Now, I've talked about the solar cycle I think it was about 5 months ago on Skynet. Slide master, slide number 5. On August the 31st, the moon was at its first quarter phase, so the current phase of the moon is a waxing gibbous. Tomorrow, on September the 7th, is full moon. On September the 10th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 364,777 kilometers. Third quarter phase of the moon is on September the 14th. New moon is on September 21st. On September 26th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 405,548 kilometers. Slide master, slide number 6. On September the 8th, the moon and Saturn and Neptune are in conjunction in the southeastern evening sky. You'll need to have a telescope in order to observe Neptune. Yep, you need a telescope for Neptune. You can be seen with binoculars. Slide master, slide number 7. On September the 12th, the moon and M45, which is the Pleiades star cluster, in conjunction in the southwestern morning sky with Uranus not too far away. You'll need at least a pair of binoculars, if not a telescope, to observe the planet Uranus. Slide master, slide number 8. On September the 12th, the planet Mars and the bright star Spica, it's the bright star in Virgo, in conjunction in the eastern west-southwestern sky. Slide master, slide number 9.
Chaz, your audio has gotten very weak in the last minute.
Is that any better?
No, it's extremely weak. It sounds like you're across the room or in the next room.
Was it strong earlier?
Yes, in this last transmission you were in strong again. So whatever happened has been reset in 5BB.
I don't know what's going on. Oh, I can hear myself over on Echolink, so I might be okay. All right, let me see. Where was I? I was on slide master, slide number 9, I believe. September 16th is the conjunction of the moon, Jupiter, and the bright star Pollux in the eastern morning sky. Slide number 10, on September the 19th, there's a conjunction of the moon, the planet Venus, and the bright star Regulus that's visible on the eastern morning sky. Slide number 11, on September 21st at 1:19 p.m. Central Daylight Time is the autumnal equinox for the northern hemisphere. Everywhere on the Earth has 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness on that day. Also, the sun rises east and sets west everywhere on the Earth that day as well. Very interesting. Slide master, slide number 12. On September 23rd, there's a conjunction of the moon and the bright star Spica in the evening sky. On September the 24th, there's a conjunction of the moon and Mars in the western evening sky. That was slide number 13. Slide number 14 on September the 27th. That's the daytime. There's a peak of the daytime Cygnus meteor shower with an unknown number of meteors per hour. Now, how do you observe daytime meteors? Well, by using radio. To get detailed information about how to observe meteors and meteor showers, you can visit the International Meteor Organization at IMO.net or the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org. Slide master, slide number 15. On September the 27th is the conjunction of the moon and the bright star Antares in the southwestern evening sky. And this is KF5JHA. Now, slide number 16. Do we have any radio operators out there that have any questions or need a fill on any information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come down with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Okay, slide number 17. As the moon wanes next week, so do these words of this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5JHA. This is Skynet transmitting on W5FC repeater at 146.88 megahertz. Back to our net control, Bill. I'm not sure why it went very quiet for a while.
I'm not sure, Chaz. I've heard that before. I wonder if something is overheating. I don't know. It just slowly gets weaker and weaker and weaker. It sounds like you're walking slowly away, backing away from the microphone. Weird. Okay. Do we have any other check-ins, comments, or questions? This is N5BB. This is Skynet. Nothing heard. Okay, Gus, W5GUS. It's your time, Gus, to talk about space exploration and space history. W5GUS. This is N5BB with Skynet.
Okay, thank you, Bill. W5GUS here with space exploration news. Got a couple interesting things here. First one is 4 research volunteers will soon participate in a year-long simulation of a Mars mission inside a habitat at the agency's at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. The mission will provide NASA with foundational data to inform human exploration of the Moon, Mars, and beyond. Okay, here are the volunteers. There's 4 of them. Ross Elder, Ellen Ellis, Matthew Montgomery, and James Spicer will enter into the 1,700 square foot Mars Dune Alpha habitat on Sunday, October 19th, this coming October 19th, to begin their mission. The team will live and work like astronauts for 378 days, concluding their mission on October 31st, 2026. Also, Emily Phillips and Laura Maury will serve as the mission's alternate crew members. So through a series of Earth-based missions called CHAPEA, CHAPEA, acronym for Crew, Health, and Performance Exploration Analog, for mission called CHAPEA, carried out in a 3D printed habitat, NASA aims to evaluate certain human health and performance factors ahead of future Mars missions and beyond. The crew will undergo realistic resource limitations, equipment failures, communication delays, isolation and confinement, and other stressors, along with simulated high-tempo extravehicular activities. These scenarios will allow NASA to make informed trades between risks and interventions for long-duration exploration missions. Okay, as NASA gears up for crewed Artemis missions, and other ground analog are helping to determine which capabilities would or could best support future crews in overcoming the human health and performance challenges of living and operating beyond Earth's resources. Crew members will carry out scientific research and operational tasks, including simulated Mars walks, growing a vegetable garden, robotic operations, and more. Technology specifically designed for Mars and deep space exploration will also be tested, including a potable water dispenser and diagnostic medical equipment. Okay, they will also, astronaut on space missions will also need oxygen, and this next story is about how magnets could help provide oxygen in space. Producing oxygen is tricky under weightless conditions in space, but the addition of a simple magnet can simplify the process of electrolysis. According to scientists' report, electrolysis splits water into oxygen and hydrogen using electricity. But under weightless conditions, the bubbles of gas don't rise to the water's surface. Instead, they cling to the electrodes submerged in the water, impeding the reaction. So they figure that placing a magnet near the electrode helps dislodge the bubbles. Researchers report the electrolysis system aboard the International Space Station spins the water to separate the bubbles, but this method adds bulk and complexity. A streamlined system with magnets could be key for proposed missions to Mars and beyond. To test the idea without leaving Earth, scientists used the Bremen Drop Tower at the Center of Applied Science, Space Technology in Germany. The facility catapults a capsule 120 meters up a tower so that the experiments can be performed in near weightless conditions as the capsule falls. In the experiment, bubbles streamed off the electrodes with magnets, but stuck to those without the magnets. And they say the magnets clear the bubbles in two different ways. The magnetic field makes the water slightly magnetic. This causes the water to be repelled from the magnet and the bubbles to move toward it. Another effect occurs when the water has an acid added to it, like vinegar, in some electrolysis methods. This produces ions, electrically charged particles in the fluid. As the ions move through the magnetic field, they experience a sideways force, which sends the fluid and bubbles swirling. The swirling motion can be used to direct the bubbles to the center of the device, where they could be collected and eventually used to let astronauts breathe easier. Okay, and we'll move on to space-related birthdays. August 31st through September 6th. So September 1st, 1961, Christopher Ferguson was born, STS 115, 136, 135, 136. 135 was original pilot for the Starliner, but stepped down. Okay, September 2nd, 1948, Krista McAuliffe. She was on STS 51L. Okay, September 3rd, 1944, Sherwood Spring was on STS 61 Bravo. Okay, we'll move to September 6, 1946, Brian O'Connor. STS-61B, STS-40. Also on September 6th, but in 1955, Carl Waltz, STS-51, 65, 79, 108, and STS-111. And that's it for birthdays. So we'll move on to This Week in Space History. Okay, Pioneer 11 and predecessor Pioneer 10 were the first craft to explore the outer solar system. After Pioneer 10's successful flyby of Jupiter, Pioneer 11's path was adjusted so that it would go by Jupiter and then go on to Saturn. The team at NASA Ames Research Center originally planned to fly Pioneer 11 through Saturn's inner rings. However, the twin Voyager spacecraft not far behind it was decided that Pioneer 11 should be the trailblazer for the path through the outer ring system of Saturn. So Pioneer 11 only came within 21,000 kilometers of Saturn's upper atmosphere on September 1st, 1979. And during the flyby, Pioneer 11 revealed a new ring, the F ring, like Foxtrot ring. Discovered two new moons, charted the Saturn magnetic field, and mapped the general structure of the interior of the giant planet. Heading out of our solar system after the Saturn flyby, Pioneer 11 remained in contact until September 1995. It now continues a silent journey toward interstellar space. Okay, and now on September 3rd, 1976, Viking 1 had landed on Crystal. Viking 2 lander set down safely on Mars in a Utopia Planista. Viking 1 had landed on Christie, some 7,400 kilometers away on July 20th. The Viking 2 mission was part of the American Viking program to Mars and consisted of orbiter and lander essentially identical to that of Viking 1 mission. The craft was launched on September 9, 1975, following launch using a Titan Centaur launch vehicle and a 333-day cruise to Mars. The Viking 2 orbiter began returning global images of Mars prior to orbit insertion. The orbiter was inserted into Mars orbit on August 7, 1976. The orbiter then began taking photographs of candidate landing sites, which were used to select the final landing site. Viking 2 was operational on Mars for 1,281 sols, that's Martian days, or 3 years, 221 Earth days, and was turned off on April 12, 1980, when its batteries failed. Okay, next, on September 5th, 77, 8:56 a.m. Eastern Time, Voyager 1 lifted off from Launch Complex 41 at Cape Canaveral, Florida. Voyager 1 would fly by Jupiter in March of 79 and Saturn November 80. Voyager 1 is now in interstellar space, so far away that radio signals take almost 23 hours to reach Earth. It's currently 15.3 billion, with a B, miles from Earth and traveling at over 38,000 miles an hour away. Engineers expect the spacecraft to continue operating at least one science experiment or instrument until around 2025. Well, that's about now. After 2036, it will be out of range of the Deep Space Network. All right, September 6, 1996, Galileo spacecraft conducted its second flyby of Jupiter's largest moon. First launched in 1989, it was to study the moons of Jupiter and derived its name from Galileo Galilei. Ganymede is one of the four Galilean moons because it was one of the four moons first observed by Galileo in 1609 and 1610. Through Galileo's telescope, Ganymede appeared as a small moving point which could easily be mistaken as a star, but the Galileo spacecraft, with its many scientific instruments and cameras, revealed that Ganymede was an entire world, complete with its own magnetosphere and even a subsurface ocean. Thanks to the Galileo spacecraft. All right, September 6, 2013, Lunar Atmosphere and Dust Environment Explorer, or LADEE, probe was launched from Pad OB of the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport at NASA's Wallops Flight Facility, Wallops Island, Virginia. It was the first payload to launch on a U.S. Air Force Minotaur 5 rocket integrated by Orbital Sciences Corp., and the first deep space mission to launch from NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center's Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. LADEE was a robotic mission that orbited the moon to gather detailed information about the structure and composition of thin lunar atmosphere and determine whether dust is lofted into the lunar sky. The probe orbited the moon for 7 months, and at the end of that, the mission was intentionally crashed into the far side of the moon on April 18th, 2014. And that's it for this week's edition. So we'll hand it back to the net control for upcoming Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Back to you, Bill, W5GUS.
Thank you very much, Gus. This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. Do we have any additional check-ins? There may have been a weak signal there. Please try again. Would anybody like to check in to Skynet? If so, please come now with your name and your call sign and your location. Nothing heard. Okay, Chaz, it's time for Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. KF5JHA. This is N5BB. Skynet in progress.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening once again, everyone. Bob the Cat is not in the area, so I should be good. Slide number 18. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in North Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Ms. Carolyn covered the entire sky seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Ms. Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Cygnus, the Swan. Slide master, slide number 19. Cygnus is the constellation of the Swan, since it's not hard to used the stars of Cygnus to trace out the basic shape of a swan flying along the Milky Way. It's not surprising to learn that Cygnus has been visualized as a swan by different cultures in the past. In one myth, Cygnus is the swan who Zeus adopted in order to seduce Queen Leda of Sparta, and another, Orpheus, the father of song, was transformed into a swan after he was murdered. Cygnus is one of the three constellations that are involved in the well-known asterism of the Summer Triangle, with Cygnus' brightest star, Deneb, forming one of the three stars that on the corners of the triangle. The other two stars are Vega and Lyra, and Altair and Aquila. The brightest stars and Cygnus form another well-known asterism known as the Northern Cross. Slide Master, slide number 20, the jokes of the week. So, how do you get down off of an elephant? Well, you don't, but you can get down off of a swan. Coming out with a funny one. Guy said, I'm great at identifying birds. His friend said, okay, what are those on that tree? And the guy said, yes, they are all birds. Did you hear the Pope got the bird flu? Yep, he caught it from a cardinal. I love the sound of a swan. Let me start this all over again. I love the sound a swan made this morning. So I retweeted it. Can we say tweeting? Yeah, I guess we still can. What's the difference between the bird flu and the swine flu? And the swan flu? For the bird flu, you need tweetment. The swine flu, you need ointment. And the swan flu, you need to stick your neck out and wing it. Why do swans make bad basketball players? Because they're always committing fouls. You know, they're birds, they're fouls. Okay. Slide Master, slide number 21. Deneb, which is Alpha Cygni, is the brightest star in Cygnus, the swan. The name Deneb derived from the Arabic word which means tail, owing to its position on the tail of the swan. Deneb is also the head of the top of the Northern Cross, and as such has been referenced as the Star of the Cross according to Burnham's Celestial Handbook. Deneb is a blue-white supergiant star, one of the greatest supergiant stars known, shining brightly at magnitude 1.3 as seen from the Earth, despite its distance of around 1,700 light years away. Slide Master, slide number 22. Another star, Albireo, is also known as Beta Cygni, is a beautiful third magnitude double star. Albireo is considered to be one of the most beautiful double stars in the sky due to its contrasting colors of the two members. The primary star is yellow, and the fifth magnitude companion is the blue or blue-green. These two colors make for an easy, noticeable color contrast, and as such, Albireo is a great demonstration object for showing newcomers of astronomy that stars come in different colors, and that they are not all just white. Another trait that makes Albireo a good introductory object is the fact that it's easily split by any telescope. In fact, it can be easily split in binoculars if you held them really steadily, or if they're mounted on a tripod, which is a candidate for the Astronomical League Binocular Double Star Club. Albireo is about 410 light years away. Since it has shared the same proper motion, it is believed to be a true physical pair. Slide Master, slide number 23. Another star, Cygnus X1, is the first black hole. Well, it's a sort of a star. It's a black hole to be scientifically identified by astronomers. The first one. It is part of the binary system with a black hole and a blue supergiant star is known as HD 226868 orbiting around each other. Of course, the black hole itself cannot be observed with the backyard telescope, but HD 226868 has a visual magnitude of 8.95, so it's easily visible in virtually all amateur instruments. Lies about half a degree from the fourth magnitude Eta Cygni. This is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. NGC 7000 is slide number 24. NGC 7000, also known as the North American Nebula, which is located near Deneb. The North American Nebula can be seen with the naked eye as a bright spot in the Milky Way from a dark sky site. If you know exactly where to look, using a nebula filter held in front of your eye, it makes it very much easier. Slide master, slide number 25. IC 5070 is better known as the Pelican Nebula, located right next to NGC 7000, which is the North American Nebula. It's out in the Atlantic Ocean, according to that. So, approximately the same place where pelicans could be found. Slide master, slide number 26. M29 is an open star cluster, and it does not stand out distinctly from the Milky Way background. If it weren't for the intervision dust clouds, the particular area of the Milky Way where M29 is located is heavily obscured with dust, dimming the stars of M29 by at least 3 magnitudes. M29 would be a very striking object if it were seen without the intervening dust clouds. Slide master, slide number 27. Messy object number 39 is an open star cluster and is visible with the naked eye from dark sky sites. Dave Hutchinson notes that he saw it without optical aid. Stephen James Amir also notes that it is visible to the naked eye as well, appearing as a small fuzzy patch around 9 degrees northeast of Deneb. Being a naked eye object, M39 makes a wonderful binocular object, but in a telescope, it requires low power to see all of the cluster all at once. Master, I'm skipping the rest. I'm looking at the time. So we're going to slide number 30. There's a few more astronomically observing program objects in the constellation of Cygnus and Swan. I've given you just a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has at last count 96 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects,
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie net.
Then you can earn an observing certificate of pen in about a year. Number 31 on the slide list. That is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Cygnus and Swan. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next week, we'll take a look at 2 constellations, Delphinus the dolphin and Aquilus the horse. And this is KF5JHA Chaz saying good night and 73 back to our net control.
Very good, Chaz. I think we're going to skip the other sections of the net because we're at end time. So do we have any last-minute check-ins before I close the net? This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. Okay, hold on a second while I count the check-ins. Be right back. This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. Okay, it's very difficult for me to correlate these multiple lists, but I believe we had around 26 people checked in this evening. Thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week, and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations. Send an email to nets@w5fc.org if you're interested. You can follow topics and discussions about all this stuff by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Bill in 5BB. I'll be closing a net at 10:32 p.m. local time, returning the repeater to normal amateur use for a few minutes before the Afterglow net. 73, everybody. Enjoy the evening discovering the universe. Tom, K5ICX, I'll turn it over to you for preparation for Afterglow. This is N5BB clear. Good night.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for doing the net this evening. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Go make yourself some microwave popcorn. You got 4 minutes and 1 minute to get there and back. 5 minutes from now. K5ICX. Okay, it is now time for the Afterglow Movie Net. Tonight's movie is Our Man in L.A. from 2024. Let me give you a little description of the film. Our Man in L.A. is a 2024 low-budget indie sci-fi film directed by Joshua Soden. Alien technology dealer Percival Whitby as he attempts to recover parts of a crashed UFO for buyers. The film is unique for having only one character, Birch Whistle's Percival, visible on screen for nearly the entire runtime. The story of Our Man in L.A. is told almost entirely through phone calls, virtual reality chats, and Percival's journey across the city. After a UFO crash lands, his character becomes entangled in a high-stakes effort to collect valuable pieces of the alien technology. The narrative is driven by his conversations with off-screen characters, and his desperation is heightened by a need for a big payoff to improve his life and his relationship with his daughter. Says the unique filmmaking style was a creative adaptation of COVID-19 safety guidelines, which required minimizing on-set personnel. As a result, actor Guy Birtwistle is the only person shown on screen. This isolation adds a claustrophobic and tense element to the film, with the rest of the cast only being heard as voices. The film also repeatedly utilized technologies like Unreal Engine and AI art during production. Says reviews of Our Man in L.A. have been sharply divided, reflecting its ambitious but unconventional approach. There were positive reviews. Some viewers had praised the film's originality and Burt Whistle's performance, calling it an acting masterclass. Others found the innovative storytelling effective, with the use of single on-screen character and off-screen dialogue, creating a unique and compelling viewing experience. The tight focus on one character and his emotional journey was particularly resonant for some who found it well-made indie project. Screen interaction with other characters tedious and unimmersive. Some reviewers felt that the low-budget nature of the film was too apparent, with one calling it absolutely terrible and unwatchable. Others felt that despite a cool premise, the execution was disappointing, especially for viewers who were initially interested in a UFO or sci-fi elements. So there you have it. Let's see. I was looking to see what Rotten Tomatoes gave it as if there's no, interesting. There's fewer than 50 ratings on this film, so there is no Rotten Tomatoes rating on this film, so we'll just have to take it for what it is. Also, I did not find any professional reviewers on this either, so I guess it's a very limited release film, but it was available on Tubi and Prime Video. So if you wanted to pay extra, you could, I guess, but it was available free on Tubi. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take check-ins. We'll come with your call sign name and whether you saw the film or not. If you didn't, that's okay, too. We'll take your check-in anyway. So that, and for anybody listening, of course, the usual way we do this is we do 3 rounds. First round is where we talk about the plot one at a time, followed by characterization, which should go pretty quickly, I would think, and finally, technical aspects of the film somewhere along the way. So we should be about 90 minutes long, although we may run short. Who knows? We'll find out. So we'll go ahead and get started. I will take check-ins. Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see tonight's movie, Our Man in L.A.?
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill and Irving. Yes, I saw the movie. We got to get up early in the morning, so I may bug out midway through the sessions here.
Okay, well, I got one check-in, N5BB, Bill and Irving. Would anybody like to double the number of check-ins? Please come now.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia. Yes, I saw the movie.
Ooh, this is going to be a quick one, I think. NV5F, Virginia, over in Fort Worth. Yes, she saw the film. Other people want to check in?
This is B5OZL, Brenda in Dallas. Yes, I saw it.
And we picked up Brenda, WB5OZL, over in Dallas. She did see the film. All right, I'll try one more try at this, and then we'll get started. Anyone else want to check in? Please come now. Okay, well, maybe perhaps this is indicative of the film. There weren't a lot of people that saw it, I guess, when it came out, and I guess not a lot of people went and watched it from our usual crew, so maybe some others will check in a little bit later. We'll go ahead and get started. Well, Bill, you're at the top of the list, N5DD. What did you think of the plot?
Oh, very good, Tom. This is N5BB. Well, I kind of wanted to like this movie. Things about it were interesting and viewable and done moderately well. What bothered me the most was the moral character of the main protagonist. We wanted to like him, to think he was a good guy, to think he was doing things right for his daughter and everything. But later in the movie, we kind of see why his wife left him. He seems to me to have left his moral compass. He is apparently, I guess, killed at least one person, the mysterious doctor, whatever his name was, that he stole the thing from. I think he killed him. I was a little confused by that part of the plot. And he seemed to be unsure about whether he'd do things that might threaten his family. And he also seemed to be willing to steal a motorcycle, to break into companies and try to fool their security, do all kinds of things, for very little reason other than his own personal little project he wanted to do and make money on. So that part of the plot bothered me. It could have been done a lot of different ways, or he wouldn't have had to just hurt people, break into things, lie to people, lie to his family, etc., etc. The fact that we didn't get to see his daughter and wife, who she apparently is in a wheelchair, was very annoying. Part of the plot, the part where they throw the wheelchair overboard, and he dives down looking for it, that was also rather confusing. At the end of that, for a while, I thought his daughter was dead. And then, essentially, we discover that she never was abducted. It was all a fake thing. So the plot was a little confusing because of these, fake outs at various places, and the fact that we don't see these characters, we just hear them, makes it more confusing. So again, I wanted to like this. Parts of it seemed to be interesting, but some of the confusion and the way some of it was kind of thrown together, some sections, like I say, this is anti-BB. Some sections, like the section, like I say, when the wheelchair was thrown into the water, to me, the way that's edited and shown and written, it just makes it confusing for the viewer. I'm also confused near the end of it, where his wife seems to say, "Oh yeah, come on in for dinner," and we thought we see him, but no, we don't. But what's turned her around? Because earlier she was real mad at him for lying and not showing up and not doing things he was supposed to be doing, etc., etc. Various places in this movie, I'm expecting a police squad to be coming and arresting him, the FBI or somebody, because he seems to be a criminal. If you really look at it, I don't know. Like I say, moral compass seems to be broken. So I guess that's my thought about the plot. Inside BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. Thanks for your comments. That's going to help me a little bit when it's my turn. Next up is Virginia, NV5F. Virginia, your thoughts about the plot from KE5I6.
Okay, well, while Bill was trying to unravel the plot, I was actually trying to find an actual plot synopsis for this movie online, and I cannot find one because he was getting different things than I was getting out of it, watching it. The problem with this, to me, is that it's barely science fiction. I mean, this guy could have been dealing with anything. He could have been dealing in, other technology or sunken treasure or, it could have been anything. It didn't matter whether or not it was UFO parts. That was kind of like, oh, let's make it about a UFO so it'll be science fiction. The high concept of there's only one guy that you ever see in the movie is not necessary to the plot. It just makes it annoying because, you start watching it and then you realize about 20 minutes in, oh, this is the only person we're going to see in this whole movie. And of course, it's the whole no exposition. It's all just him talking to people. In real life, there would be more exposition in conversations than there is here. So I just thought it was unnecessarily confusing, and I don't know what to make of the whole thing with his daughter. you know, the guy was on the phone, and he had the daughter. You could hear her talking. You could hear her screaming. Then he's trying to swim down to find her when the boat that he was trying to reach was so far away. It would have taken him like a couple of hours to swim that far. And then it's never clear to me whether they threw her overboard and whether he rescued her and anything that happened after that. And it's all because they're like, oh, we can't have anybody in this movie except him. So I'm not sure what happened between that and then suddenly she's fine and he's going to visit her and his wife is fine and she's fine and she's going to get some internship with the lady that he was dealing with about the UFO who now suddenly works at NASA. And so yeah, the ending just seemed kind of convenient. Like there was the whole plot about how they were in the AI, he was in the AI simulation with his daughter, and he had to tell her that the reason he wasn't excited about the simulation of the lake where he grew up was because he accidentally caused a kid to drown while they were kayaking on the lake, and then they do the turnabout kind of thing where the best I got was the way he killed that guy was he knocked him out and put him in a car. And then I think the car had like a sunroof, and he ran water in the car while the guy was knocked out, and he was locked in the car, and the guy drowned. And that's how he killed that guy. But that seemed a little cold-blooded for him to kill him. And it was just unnecessarily not satisfying or... You know, and it was kind of confusing. I mean, you sort of knew what was happening, but you weren't sure. And then by the end, everything seemed fine, and he was fine. And, yeah, he killed a guy, but whatever. Somehow killing another person, like, helped him get over accidentally killing somebody when he was a kid. I don't know. So, yeah, a high-concept thing that didn't work. You know, they had the whole, like, you know, they're putting his daughter in danger, but you don't know. I don't know. Did he rescue her from drowning? I mean, you figure out the wheelchair thing when you see the wheelchair, like, you know, sinking to the bottom of the ocean. And I never figured out, like, did they just throw her wheelchair overboard and not her? And somehow I don't know. I don't get any of that. Maybe they were just trolling him, and they just took his daughter back home after almost killing her. I don't know. It was just confusing, and I don't think the UFO thing really added anything to it. Really made it sci-fi. It just, you know, it just didn't. It wasn't necessary to the plot for it to have anything to do with UFOs. It could have been anything. I mean, it threw NASA in there, and I guess his daughter was, like, really smart. And she, you know, was, he helped her get a job or an internship or something with somebody at NASA that was the lady that he was dealing with for the UFO stuff. I mean, that kind of made the plot UFO thing necessary, but I don't know. I just think it just didn't work for me. I'll get to talking about the guy in the round 2, but I just didn't think this really worked. The whole thing of, oh, COVID, and we can only film with one person. Well, if there had to be a crew there had to be at least a cameraman, maybe a director, a couple other people, and don't get me started on the hypocrisy of all the stupid COVID rules. You know, that just, and then people just are like, hey, let's make a weird movie with you know, let's do like some kind of an innovative thing and say it's because of COVID, when maybe it's just because they can only afford to hire one person. Anyway, I'm kind of punchy tonight. I had coffee this morning. It's still messing with me. Back to net, NV5F.
right, thank you, Virginia. Well, you got more out of it than most people did, so... Yeah, okay. I sense a theme here. Next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, your thoughts on the plot?
Oh, this is WB50ZL. Yeah, I'm going to fall in line with the other two. This is some either sloppy editing or sloppy storytelling or something. I don't care if, the concept, okay, that's cool, have everybody on the phone. And I get that. But there was no excuse to make the story with whether or not the daughter killed or not. And, I just not even mention it. I think they didn't, they painted themselves into a corner to know what to do with it, or I don't know what. But they kept creating drama that didn't need to exist, like the daughter kidnapped and thrown in the water, maybe, or was back on where he killed a kid, which just, doesn't change the story too much, other than he's got all this guilt. And the brutality of murdering this guy and the man. He seems like he's living a life of morally vague kind of a life where right and wrong doesn't make any sense. And I think the entire story was thin. So the guy finds some alien artifacts in the ocean, and somebody steals them, and now it's cat and mouse spy thriller. And I mean, that's really thin for just story for a whole movie, I think. And the end really didn't seem terribly resolved either. They could have just been gold doubloons, and it would be the same story. They found something at the bottom of the sea, and somebody trying to steal it. The fact that they made it an alien spacecraft is like, oh, this is science fiction. And they didn't dwell on those aliens much at all. All right, back to net, WB50ZL.
Thank you, Brenda. Okay, we're down to the bottom of the list. Let me see if anyone else is out there who'd like to check in. Please come with your call sign, your name, did you see tonight's movie, Our Man in L.A. from 2024.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I did see this movie.
Okay, well, it's going to be a short list tonight. We got KD9SOK. Sean, you're up. What'd you think of the plot from KE5ICX?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, I'm really not going to differ from anybody else on this. This was pretty bad, to be honest. The plot was pretty thin. It was clear that they had an ideal of somebody that dealt with, found artifacts from outer space, some kind of underground thing. And that's about where the story ended. It's like they didn't know what to do from that. We started out there. It just started out bad. First of all, the chemistry set in the back of his car was a joke. Supposedly it was an indestructible metal, yet he took his knife and peeled off a section and then tested it with chemicals and determined it was something not of this earth, I guess. They could have easily just got, they got those microwave metal detectors that they use in pawn shops and stuff. That tell you what kind of metal it is. They just could have got rid of one of those. But I think they really did have a $100 budget, like your story or your little intros, because it's like, wow. But I mean, there's just so many holes, just even on that part of the show. And then, unfortunately, most of this movie, was either him on the cell phone or him just walking or sneaking around different places. And this movie felt way longer than 71 minutes. It felt like it was an hour and a half to 2 hours. I found myself, unfortunately, being so bored at times, I was just, checking email, seeing what's going on. It was hard to stay in tune with this movie or trying to keep with it because it was just kind of boring, to be quite honest. They clearly didn't have a story, so they tried to bring the drama in with his daughter and his wife. And I know they had to bring him in to some extent because that's what the quote-unquote bad guy used to hold over the guy's head. But it was just unnecessary. It's like somebody maybe had an idea for a couple stories and kind of twist them together just to sell this and make a quick buck, which we see a lot on these streaming services these days, unfortunately. And that's a whole tangent I won't get into, but that's a thing now, unfortunately. But yeah, I agree. The plot, everybody's talking about the daughter, whether she died or not. I was just confused as well. Initially, I thought, did she die? Because then he acted like he was depressed afterwards, and then all once you find out she's alive, you don't know, did he save him? Did the guy let her go? Which I doubt if the guy would have let her go, because that would have been a loose end. So it was just, it seemed like they cut a part out of the movie. But then again, if they showed him rescuing her, then they'd have to add another actor onto the thing, because once you show your face and talk, of course you got to pay more money. So yeah, it was just, it's like they definitely went out of their way not to show anybody else other than the one video phone call that he did. So yeah, it was just honestly just a weak script, and I think they, tried to use some excuses to justify it. I think they were maybe just trying to experiment whether they need to, kid you film a movie with just one guy. In some ways it's a, I don't know. They're seeing similar stuff, but not quite to this extreme. So yeah, unfortunately for me, I just really couldn't enjoy this one, and definitely won't be a repeat watch. Anyway, back to that, KB9SOK.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Well, I don't have a lot to add. I honestly did fall asleep during part of this movie, as some people suspected. Well, there was a reason for that, of course. What can I say? It's an interesting premise in that it's a single character that acts and reacts to the external stimulus, these people on telephone calls back and forth. We know that he's running an operation. It's kind of falling apart to a certain degree. He doesn't have a lot of money. It's a gumshoe type thing with a poor detective, only in this case it's a, what do you call him? Well, he's thief, I guess, more than anything else. But I don't know. Trying to mentally pair out how you could do this film better with just the one actor. Now, I think he was great, and this comes into play later on because he has to hold the whole movie together as best as is possible. I think as character, and it's kind of blowing the next round, is that he tries to hold the film together, and he does a fairly convincing job as a character, which is fine by me. He was interesting, but I don't think he was the one-man show, and shouldering this whole thing on him to keep the plot rolling is necessarily fair or a great way of doing a film. Probably the reason why it's at an hour and 10 minutes, rather than much film they probably did do. But anything shorter than this would be a short subject film. So in order to keep it a full-length movie, in quotes, going to have to be over an hour long, and an hour and 11 minutes just barely cuts it. There's been other movies where it's been like this. Science fiction one, Moon, is an example of that, although the character sees himself, I guess, in the thing. There are some others that I can't think of that come to mind that would do this. They're usually slow moving. Sometimes they have some flashbacks to other people in the film. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just the thoughts, voiceovers, things like that. We do have characters in this. They're just by voice only, which I think draws it even more out that he's the only one there. Sort of like the adults in Charlie Brown. We never really get to see the adults. They're just there and phoning in their performances, in this case, literally. So I don't know if that helps it or hurts it. It certainly shortens it, and it does feel like it's a very long experience. So what do you add? Is there any action? No, not a lot. Could they afford action? No. Maybe maybe this is just a radio drama when you get down to it. I don't know. Very difficult to say. It might have worked as better as a radio drama, I suppose. But I don't know. I guess I don't have a lot to say because I don't have a lot to carry on. The character, well, we'll get back to the characterization later on. And this is hard to do because since he's holding this whole thing together, you kind of have to talk about him, but we've got that coming up on the next round. So, anyway, I'm going to defer and make my comments on the next round. Okay, anyone else want to check in before we go to the top of the list and we talk about characterization? Please come now. Okay, well, Bill, if you're still out there, you're next. Characterization. What do you think about Our Man in L.A.?
This is N5BB. Yeah, Tom, this is going to be my last round. I'm still here, but I'm going to turn off the radio after I finish talking because I really got to get some sleep. I'm going to disagree with your last comment that there's really no action in the movie. There was action. When he wasn't talking, there was action going on. And in particular, he killed a guy by letting the water in the parking garage drip down to the car. He stole a motorcycle and drove it all over the place. Tried to carry a computer on the motorcycle, couldn't do it, so he carried the hard drive back. So there was action. He was breaking into places. The problem is the action. There is nobody. Nearly all the places there is nobody to see. So he breaks into the place. Conveniently, nobody's there. He breaks into the warehouse place. Conveniently, nobody's there. There's some people out in the street, on the roads, but there's nobody in these buildings. There's like a whole bunch of empty buildings. The lights come on. What bothered me greatly was the fact that the security, there's no security. There's no alarms. When he, I guess there's no locks on some places. I don't know. I mean, how could he get into all those places? That wouldn't have happened in any normal building. And then when he fooled the guard into making him thinking he was supposed to be picking up something, it was very convincing to me. Did the guard call the doctor? No. Of course, he couldn't have reached him, I think, because he was already dead, wasn't he? Wasn't that after he killed him? No, I guess it was before he killed him. But he had no credentials. He had no driver's license. He had nothing. And the guard must have known that this was an incredibly important thing that he was taking. That made no sense at all. Made no sense how he got away with that. So there were just a lot of nonsensical things that were unbelievable to me. And his ability to steal all these vehicles without getting caught, without alarms going off, not even having to hotwire them. The motorcycle, somebody left their keys in it. And with the van, I think he found the keys hanging somewhere or something. I don't know. Just too many unbelievable things. So, and then the whole premise of the whole thing seemed to be two different things. There was, this relates to characterization, there was him trying to redeem himself with his daughter and maybe his ex-wife, which, although it kind of looks like at the end of the movie he did that, because of all the bad things he had to do, and was probably, in a normal world, would be caught and, put in prison for murder and stealing those vehicles. So I don't really think he redeemed himself at the end by doing all those horrible things. He dug himself into a hole, and rather than getting out of a hole, he got in deeper and deeper and deeper. That's my feeling about that. The other part about it was the alien technology. We didn't learn anything. Conveniently, we found this other thing. It must be stuck in the top of it. And when they do that, the thing acts like it's uploading to somewhere all that stuff about the bunny room, which, what does that have to do with anything? By the way, one of the plot things, this is in 5EB, to clear up one plot issue, when he's in the bad guy's area, he finds that Bunny's room, the thing his daughter, Bunny, was using, that virtual VR thing, was running on a computer at the bad guy's location. So the guy must have hacked in and gotten control of it. So what does he do? He tries to steal that computer, is unsuccessful because he's on the motorcycle and can't carry it. So he opens it up and pulls up the hard drive. He takes it back home, plugs it into the computer, and somehow resets up Bunny's room so his daughter can interact with her that way again. So that's a plot thing. That may be somehow how the bad guy convinced him that his daughter was on the ship out there, the boat. Maybe something involving the VR thing or AI simulating her voice. I don't really know. But the way they did it wasn't clear. And they should have been clear. With the fact that we didn't see hardly any people, we only saw him running around stealing things and breaking into things. They need to be clearer about some of these plot points rather than make them so fuzzy. And the end of the movie was not good for me. I didn't like it. What's happening with his family? Is everything going to be good? Suddenly, miraculously, his wife sounded like she liked him again for no reason. There's no reason for that. And like I say, the police should be coming after him and putting him in prison for murder and stealing vehicles and doing all kinds of nasty things. The alien object, which they said that maybe it was a boring machine to bore down to look for minerals or something. They didn't show it doing anything, except at the end where they plugged something into it, and it was uploading some things that it had collected, I guess, data. But, I don't know. A lot of effort, I say a lot of effort. By the one guy that did it, a lot of effort on his personal part, but no payoff for me. No payoff. So, anyway. At the start of this movie, I thought, maybe this is going to be a good movie, Tom. Maybe Thomas finally found us a good one. But nope. Turned out to be a dud. Okay, 73, good night. Inside BB clear.
Oh, thank you, Bill, for that vote of confidence. Okay, you can go to bed now. I'm falling asleep here myself. Let's see. Virginia, ND5F, your thoughts on characterization?
Well, I think the most interesting about this guy that we talked about last night is that he looks like Phil Collins, and he actually kind of sounded like Phil Collins. And then we had a kind of interesting conversations about Phil Collins, about how he's into Texas history, and he's like gone to the Alamo thing every year, and he's spoken at Texas history things, and he's like this world expert on the Alamo and Texas history. So that's kind of a weird thing about Phil Collins. So he does look strikingly a lot like Phil Collins, and he was British, so, and his accent was even similar, and his voice quality, maybe he's related to Phil Collins, who knows. So I think that was the most interesting thing about the actor. Apparently the actor also wrote the story, and I think he's a pretty good actor. He just needs some good material. I liked him, like, he was likable. His character in a better story would have been very sympathetic and likable. The whole guy who can't do anything right because he seems to have this penchant for getting involved in, you know, shady stuff, and then he gets himself in deeper and deeper when he could just stop and go, hey, I'm in debt. Maybe I should go get a real job and pay off my debt. But he just gets deeper and deeper because he's just so passionate about whatever the heck it is he thinks he has to do, and he can't seem to find some above-board way to do it. And that's a pretty common story, and the whole ex-wife-daughter thing, I mean, it's all tropey stuff. They had the whole thing about the ex-wife being, like, you know, mad because he's shady and, you know, is always in trouble, and the daughter probably doesn't, you know, the daughter doesn't realize, you know, what he's involved in, except maybe on a very basic level. But then at the same time, she's helping him try to figure out this thing in VR. They end up in the VR world, and they're, like, arguing, and then the next minute she's showing him some insight she has about this UFO part. So she must know a little bit about what he's up to, and the mom doesn't. But the mom, I think, just knows that he's kind of shady. So, you know, the characters are pretty standard issue stuff, and I don't know if Bill's still listening, but he was trying to carry the computer away on a bicycle. He was stealing, I think he took his wife's car at some point, or some car that was in their garage. He took a motorcycle. He had a bicycle. I'm not sure where he got the bicycle. So, yeah, there was a lot of action, but it was mostly just him trying to get places fast. There was some of him swimming, breaking into places. So there was action, but no exposition. So the whole thing about what really happened with the daughter, was she killed? Did he save her from drowning? Did he figure out that she wasn't drowning, but somehow he knew she was okay? I don't know. That was completely left out. They just dropped the ball in that whole part of the plot. There's no way to know. The daughter seemed like a likable character. I guess she was improving her VR world, because by the end, they looked like, you know, VR generated, like, they looked more human. In the first part, they were like these little Lego-looking people or something. So I guess by the end, her VR talent had gotten a lot better in a short time. I guess the reason the mom liked him again was, like, that he had gotten the daughter an in at NASA, and that was somehow going to write her ticket. You know, she's a disabled person, and she needs, like, a good career, you know, so that she can, you know, have a livelihood or whatever. Yeah, not sure about that, but the whole everything's fine, even though he had to do all this shady stuff, and there's probably, like, 1 million people in 1 million different crime organizations on his trail and after him, and he's going to have to spend the rest of his life running from criminals and the law, but somehow everything's cool. So, but he had the makings as an actor, and with his acting, and you know, he had the makings of someone likable, and everybody else is just kind of, you know, whatever, man. Like, there was no real, I mean, you got a sense that he was friends with some of these people he was talking to, and that they really cared about him, and that he maybe kind of cared about them, but yeah, not a lot for this guy to do as an actor in his own story. I get tired of I was in film school, I don't want to say how long ago, but I've watched things change, and I'm one of those people that keeps track of gradual change, and in the film world, as with everything else, and I can tell you about the times when they start to use different words or concepts or ideas, and how when things start to become overblown. And the thing I get tired of hearing people say about films is, show, don't tell, show, don't tell, show, don't tell. Well, that's not realistic. In real life, that's not realistic. And there has to be a balance. And if you're doing a lot of talking, but you're trying to do it in such a way that nobody really tells you anything, and you've got to figure it all out by watching all the action, but there's only one guy doing all the action, and he's not reacting actually to anybody on screen, and they have to leave whole chunks out of the story because they can only have one person, show don't tell doesn't work. And especially when all he can do is talk to people, but they have some weird postmodern, I should say, unwritten rule that you can't actually tell anybody anything that would let them know what's going on in the story. If they made this movie 40 years ago, it would have been really clear what was happening, because people would have actually said what was happening. So, anyway, I'm sorry, I'm feeling real punchy this evening, and I get tired of those things being taken out of proportion to the point where even with the movie that's got a bunch of characters that you actually get to see, you can't figure out what's going on. So, anyway, pretty good actor, likable. Looks like Phil Collins, and I like Phil Collins, so that makes him even more likable. Maybe he's going to be in something else. If this was made during COVID, it wasn't released until October of last year, so it must have taken them like 4 years to edit it. I'm not sure what's going on there. Anyway, back to net, NV5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. Very good point. All right, next up is Brenda, WB5OZL. You're up. Characterization.
WB5OZL. Well, I think, to me, one of the biggest moral conflicts of this character is that he finds these alien spacecraft, and he's just making a buck off of it. He needs to share this with the U.S. government, because that's a national security issue. And I think the story would have been better if the aliens came back and want to retrieve their parts, and they start chasing him. That would have been fun. But you know, to hide the fact that there are alien spacecraft here is just unconscionable. He needs to tell somebody so that they can study it and so forth. So he breaks up the pieces and sells them in secret, and just can't be good. Well, him being the only character I didn't find particularly likable, even though he did look like Phil Collins, but he just did so many horrible things all along the way, and I think the guy that he murdered was probably a mannequin. I don't even think that was a real person after all. so he may have been the only person in it. And yeah, the VR stuff suddenly improved in the course of 20 minutes. She was like a stick figure. Now she's like a real girl. They don't explain that. So there's just so much about this. I think they came up with an idea and just didn't know how to implement it. All right, so that's all I got. WB50ZL.
Thank you, Brenda. Next up, Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, same question to you. What do you think of the what are we I'm having a mental block, characterization on our fine film this evening?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. It's alright, Tom. It's getting late. Yeah, the characterization. This guy, yeah, I mean, I started out liking him, but as it went on, I started not to like him. The more you find out about him, the less sympathetic I became about this guy. Yeah. Side note, they should probably call this movie Thieving Automobiles, because, yeah, he stole a bicycle, a motorcycle, a car, a SUV, a van. He pretty much stole, pretty much all your mobile vehicles. Yeah, no, this guy's character, he's obviously not a particularly good guy. At the end of the day, he's willing to do whatever to get this stuff to become rich. I mean, we've seen other stories like this, whether it doesn't matter what it is, whether there's somebody stealing, ancient gold or whatever. People become obsessed and don't care what it takes. And that's essentially what this guy did, which doesn't make him a very nice guy. He was willing to steal. Yeah, he killed the guy because he felt that was probably the only way to save his family, but still he was willing to kill. But the biggest problem I have with this, he was willing to put his family in danger. At the very beginning, as his friend tried to tell him, that lady, he needed to back off and let it go. And yet he just kept pushing. If you really cared about your family, you wouldn't, you would have just let it go, So I can't really say this was a nice guy, even though obviously he cared about his kid and his wife, but then there's some really evil people in this world that done some horrible things that cared about their family. That still doesn't make him a nice person. So yeah, I just started out liking him, and then by the end, I really didn't. Not a lot of his daughter was nice. There's nothing wrong there. His wife, I guess, played the ex role well. We had his best friend, which, we only heard from him a couple of times. Then we had the bad guy making the demands. And that's really about it. Well, he had his one friend, or if you want to call it his business partner, that helped him get rid of the stuff. Which, once again, that was strange at the beginning, too, why, the problem getting a hold of her and just, willy-nilly breaking into her house. So, yeah, this guy's willing to do just about anything, whether it's thieving or breaking in or... the characters weren't particularly good. The acting was okay. I do agree with that. I don't think the guy has a problem with that. But unfortunately, it just wasn't a particularly good story. Anyway, back to that. KB9SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean. And what am I going to add? I'm falling asleep. That's what I'm adding. I don't know if I got really anything to add. It's just not with it. It's kind of up since 3 a.m., folks. I could take a nap, though. Let's see. No, I got nothing, folks. I got nothing. Okay, how time is it? 11:33. Well, we'll go down the list. If you want to talk about technical aspects of the film, that's fine by me. We'll go ahead and start. Bill. Oh, Bill's gone, I'll bet. NV5F, Virginia. Anything you want to do on the technical aspect of the film?
Okay, since Bill is gone and you didn't have anything to say about characters, I thought you would at least talk about whether or not you liked Phil Collins. Yeah, this is your standard. We have a video camera package that makes decent looking video, and we're going to color key everything to be really, everything just looks, it looked like smog. It's LA, so LA's in the title, so they're just going to make everything look smoggy. It just looked like the color of smog, literally. I lived in LA for a year, and the color of this movie reminded me of the Santa Ana winds blowing into the city in the fall. It's like an oven from the desert, and it makes everything look kind of dingy and brownish orange, and that's what this movie looked like to me. And I don't like that, but y'all know how much I don't like that. Let's just make everything the same color. And I don't like the sound design on these movies. Everything sounds super dry, like it was all recorded in a room full of foam and not mixed at all. And the music is minimalistic and boring and unmemorable. And on top of all that, it was just a dude in his earbuds, and there was no chemistry. He couldn't have chemistry with anybody on screen. There was no, it's acting to a point. If you're not acting with other people, it's not really acting, I don't think. You can be acting, you can act like the character, and you can, act with whatever motivations he had, but, it's just a high concept that didn't work, and the technical stuff was, it made sense up to a point, as much as they could make it make sense with whole plot holes due to the fact that you couldn't show another person in the picture with you. And I think that they might have just been using COVID as an excuse for the fact that they only had one actor in their movie. So, because the thing didn't come out till 2024, so they could have just taken longer making it and actually had people in it. So that's it for me. Nice and cynical, and definitely not much else to say. Back to net, NV5F.
Oh, you are forgiven. You had more to say about this movie than anybody else, especially me, and your descriptions are perfectly spot on, I think, this evening. Okay, next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, your special effects, whatever you want to talk about. Go ahead.
This is WB50ZL. I didn't notice any special effects, honestly, other than some cheesy spaceship model, which wasn't really very believable. Other than that, it didn't have much going for it. It was just mostly chase scenes, and a guy talking to people on the phone. So I'm gonna quit there. I'm kind of over this movie now. Back to that, WB50ZL.
Okay, next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Whatever you want to talk about, go ahead.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I agree. The music, I couldn't remember it, actually. So it had to be pretty generic. I I agree with what Virginia said about the video. It was very drab. I get tired of that too in all these movies today. The audio, yeah, was very bland. I guess we could hear the guy. It's better than we've seen on a few movies. So there's that. Yeah, the special effects, everything from the guy's completely ridiculous chemistry set that he had in the back of the car, to even the computer, where they had, metal Romex going in the back of it. That's supposed to be for the VR headset. No, that's not at all right. The computer wasn't at all right. There was no discrete video card in it. You're not running VR on a cheap computer like that. Then our poorly looked spaceship at the end, and we had a beam popping out the top of it communicating. So there you go. That was their only special effect. Once again, I've seen way better, on YouTube. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to actually. I know I am criticizing it, but I don't really. That doesn't make a movie for me. I don't care if the special effects are bad, particularly if it's a great story. How many old sci-fi shows we watch with really crappy sets and really poor models, and but yet we like it because it's a good story. But it makes it nice to have better special effects, but this movie's just kind of lacking everything, so it's kind of hard. Not to pick on it since they call it solo sci-fi. Unfortunately, it is weird that it took so many years to get this thing out. My guess is they just couldn't get nobody to buy it, and probably Tubi finally. I think Tubi will buy anything, to be quite honest. I have, a while back, I watched probably half a dozen, quote, unique sci-fi movies that were only released on Tubi. I thought, well, maybe I'll find a good one and recommend it for the group, and see if Tom would let us watch it. And unfortunately, they were all so horrible that I wasn't going to dare recommend them. So Tubi doesn't have a great reputation for unique stuff, but I guess it's not what we're here to really talk about. But anyway, it sounds like last night's conversation was better than the movie. Unfortunately, I didn't make it last night to watch it, but oh well. And it's always something interesting. We never know what we're going to watch. So yeah, looking forward to next week. Back to that. KB9S, okay.
All right, thank you, Sean. Thank you, everybody. Let's see, anything to add? Technically, there's special effects. No, I thought it looked okay as far as film was concerned. It was a bit odd with no other people in it. That was fine. It does remind me of a television series that did this rather effectively, which was basically, of course, they had more than just one person in it, but the old Avengers television series from the 60s, they didn't have a large budget, at least for the first 2 years that they did the series. So, and then when they did finally end up with more money funded by the U.S., that's a kind of a spy drama, offbeat, almost a comedy type thing, if you don't know about it. It was filmed in and around Great Britain, but they couldn't afford a lot for a cast, so they never had a cast. Every place they went, there was nobody. It was like just a few people, and that's it. It was devoid of people. In fact, when they did the movie reboot, they did that. They didn't have any people. We walked through London, there's nobody there. Very Spartan. And it kind of gave it an interesting feel to it. But it kind of had a science fiction-y type element to it anyway. Kind of unbelievable, fantastic plots that would go on. So having nobody around except your antagonist is maybe a henchman or 2 or 3, maybe, if that. And the 2 Avengers going after them, Emma and John, it did seem to work, but that was the atmosphere they created for the series. I suppose they could have done that more, but I I think you end up as kind of limited with what you can do on screen, and as a result, certain scenes get thrown out because you can't do it. You need the individuals in it, or you need this scene to work out. With it. Although textual aspects of the film were fine, sound was okay, I guess. Physically, lighting was fine, all those things that you were talking about. And I guess Bill was right, there was some action in it. I think I fell asleep through it, which is what I feel like I'm doing right now. But at any rate, I guess that's all I got. Anyone have anything else they want to bring to the net this evening? I guess we're going to end in 15 minutes early.
NV5F.
All right, Virginia, get the final word. Go ahead, NV5F.
Yeah, I forgot to say during the characterization round that I think the most interesting relationship in this was his relationship with his bottle of tequila. And they had that other tropey arc where he finally decided to pour the rest of it down the drain. And that was when his life turned around. And he decided to just go for broke and pull out all the stops and do all the ruthless, horrible things he had to do in order to pull off this caper and make good with his daughter. All right, that's it for me. Thanks for running the net, Tom. Good night, everyone, in V5F.
Well, you know what, Virginia? I think it's so funny. You had a lot of fun with this terrible movie. I mean, it wasn't really very good in your eyes, and I kind of agree. I do agree with you, but you had a lot of fun with it. So it's like, throwing your arms up in the air and saying, I don't know, what's next? And the characters pretty much felt the same way. Okay, let's see here. Next week's movie. Oh, this is maybe an interesting one. This is somewhat of an experimental film from 2018. It's called Transit. And it says, this is from the Plex website, it says, in an attempt to flee Nazi-occupied France, Georges assumes the identity of a dead author, but soon finds himself stuck in Marseille, where he falls in love with Maria, a young woman searching for her missing husband. Now, the interesting part about this film, as you will find out, is it's done in a somewhat contemporary setting, which makes it rather unsettling along the way. What little bit I watched of it. So, I mean, perhaps this will be of interest. I'm not sure. It got a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, so apparently people liked it, and it didn't do too bad on Internet Movie Database. I think this is another one of those art house films. Maybe not. I don't know. It looks like it has a budget. So next week's movie, Transit, from 2018, over on Plex. I'll send out all the notes, or the links for it tomorrow morning. Anybody out there that wants to be added to the list that isn't not participating because you don't know what the movie will be, just send me an email at my call sign, KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-ray at yahoo.com, and I'll put you on the list and you get the links for everything as well. So say something for you, everybody. Have a good evening, and I'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat station. This is KE5ICX. I'm now clear.